All right, guys, you are back for day three. How exciting is that? Man, I couldn't wait for today. In fact, I had a real hard time sleeping last night because my mind was going like crazy. Did you guys too? Are you excited? Oh, it's so exciting to be here. I'm so excited helping you live your destiny, discover what your destiny is, and really step into it. We've had a lot of fun here over the last couple of days, and it has been absolutely our pleasure to serve you. What I'd love to know is what were the breakthrough moments for you this week? We've had a couple days, we've invested some hours together. So, did anyone have a breakthrough this week? And if so, what was it? Go bigger, says Sean. Yes, all right. In fact, before we hit the record button today, Kayla and I were chatting about that because a couple of our clients, these are some of our higher end clients that have been in private mentoring and they're already very, very goal oriented and goal focused. And the two of them sent me emails this week saying that they stretched themselves and set bigger goals. So I love that. And I love that. And as you may or may not know, one of my favorite quotes is that quote by Napoleon Hill that says, "No more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty." You see, some people, not the ones that are on this call, have already accepted misery and poverty. They're living their life that way. They think it's their lot in life to live their life that way, but it is certainly not your lot in life as well. Okay, Eva says, I'm refocusing on effort, being more dedicated. Brilliant, Eva. This is so good and so perfect with what we're about to talk about today as well. Ria says, rewriting my life script was good to do and made it bigger and more with more enthusiasm. Excellent. Enthusiasm is very important. Enthusiasm is energy. It's really good, positive energy that you have. So, who else had a shift this week? Who else has had a shift this week? Maybe I need another. Oh, that I needed another Peggy class, says Michelle. Yes, Michelle did join the Mind Conditioning Mastery Program. I experienced like billions of amplified success and results like I went through skipping levels several billions of times and got so much energy continuously. I love that. I love that, Keith. Well, Keith, we love your devotion, your dedication to this. And, in some of my classes and some of my webinars, I've often talked about saturating your mind, right? Saturating your mind. And I think it's really a valuable thing to do. I've just been thinking in the last couple of days about how consistent I've been feeling aligned, like more consistent than ever. And I am listening to my audios and I have them all on my Power Life script. So if you have an iPhone, you can get the Power Life script. It's an app and it's totally free. And on my iPhone, I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different audios on here. I have a couple meditations that I listen to during the day. I have a thank you universe message that I listen to three times. I have a treatment, something that I call a prosperity treatment. I have something that is a declaration of I am statements. I have my nighttime Power Life script, and then I have my daytime Power Life script. Eva, apparently the Android version is going to be ready this year. So thank you for asking about that. But the point of that is, however you're listening to audios or like Eva saturating your mind, it is the injection of all of this content, of all these materials that really does change the way you are. It changes the way you think. And you'll find, I'm sure Eva, you're already finding this because I've known Eva now for a while and she always shows up. She's always on the classes. We see her, we know she's committed, we know she's there. And I'm certain you're already experiencing the shifts in your life for sure. And what happens is when you're saturating your mind in this way, is that you become better at being more disciplined. You are better at ensuring, and I'm going to talk about this today as well, ensuring that you're staying away from the negative and you're putting yourself back on track as fast as humanly possible. All right, it's very, very important. So I'm going to dive into today's class and we'll do the same as we've done with the other classes. We will go into the lessons and then I'm going to open for any questions. Kayla's going to capture any questions if you type them in. Even as I'm going along, if you have a question, you want to type it in, go ahead, type it in And we'll be sure to address all of your questions when we get to the question part of our call today. Also, what I want to say to you is that I'm going to be sharing with you something that I created recently. And it's really a methodology of ensuring that you're following through and you're utilizing the techniques that will, have you creating success with greater ease. It's called the McColl method. And I'm going to share that with you today. And we're going to be posting the actual document. So I had my designer take all my content. We designed a document called the McColl method. I'll show it to you a little later. And we're going to be giving it to you. It'll be on the replay page. So Roddy's going to upload it later, and he's going to put it on the replay page for you. And you've all been given the link for the replay page. In fact, Kayla, if you can find that link and maybe post it in the chat box now, just so somebody could maybe bookmark it. And the replay page is available for you for approximately a week. And so what we're doing is we're putting up that replay page so that you can go there and access the recordings from day 1, day 2, and day 3, of course. And of course, you'll hear the exercises that are there, and you'll be able to access the bonus that we created for you, which is the McColl method. So let's go over to my PowerPoint presentation. We're gonna go from there, and I'm going to teach you today's lesson, which is very much a complementary to everything that we've done so far. So on the first day, one of the things that I asked you to do was go to the future and get the clarity around the incredible year that you've just had, meaning 2025. And of course, that was on the 31st. It was in 2024. Yesterday was the first day of 2025. And many of you, if not all of you, and I hope all of you, did follow through and actually do that practice. It's a very important practice. It's really having the clarity of how you would love to be living your life and what you would love to accomplish. Then on day 2, yesterday, what we did was we went into the identity, the concept of self, who you need to become in order to produce the results that you want. And I had asked you to write a letter to yourself, talking about how incredible you are and the wonderful things that you have developed, the skill sets that you develop, perhaps the disciplines that you're involved with, how you're feeling, that type of thing. And what was exciting about that is some of you sent it to us, which was fun. So I did get a bunch of emails, and I read them all, by the way. So it was absolutely amazing to see the results of you following through with the action. And that's what we're talking about today, action. Think about when a movie is being filmed. And in fact, I was told that this year, Savvy Wisdom, the movie, is going to be filmed. And so there's this thing, I actually have one over there in my drawer. It's a clapper, right? You've seen them, and it's like they come down, it's like they have the scene on it, and then action. And then the actors go into their role, portraying their role. Well, this is what you're doing in effect. You're portraying the role of the incredible being that you already are. You see, all those actors that can portray certain roles that seem to be so incredibly believable, they all had that ability before they became an actor. They just learned how to do their skill better. That's what we teach. Learn how to do your skill better for manifesting your desires. That's really what we're here. And you can think of it as an acting school, if you will, because that's ultimately what it is. You have to act as if, live as if what you desire is already in your life. And that can be challenging. It certainly is challenging in the beginning. In fact, we had a question, I believe, on day 1 about why is it hard, right? And it's hard in the beginning because you're changing your way of being. And because we're such habitual creatures, us humans, we tend to do the same things, and quite often without even thinking about it, we just move into action. For example, if I asked you, what are the things that you do immediately when you wake up in the morning? I mean, some people get up, maybe go to the washroom, they may brush their teeth. I mean, they just move into action, especially if somebody who's really cherishing their sleep time and they've got early morning starts and they have to get to the office or whatever. They're likely like robotic, right? And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. And we're all robotic. We're all act that certain way. But the acting in a certain way, and that's something that Wallace D. Wattles wrote about in The Science of Getting Rich, acting in a certain way, what that really means is what we're talking about today. Having inspired action that you develop such a strong discipline for that it does become your habitual way of being. And you don't even have to think about it anymore. You don't necessarily even need to have a daily discipline checklist in front of you. I have a daily discipline checklist in front of me here. And that was a technique that I developed back in 1995 when I had this realization that personally, in 1995, I realized that I could get better at being more disciplined. I could get better at activating these things that I know are going to create better alignment for me and better results ultimately, because that's what we all want, right? Like you're all here because you want better results, right? You want better results in your life, whether it's better results financially, whether it's better results physically, whether it's better results mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whether it's better results in your business, whether it's better results in your relationships, whatever it is, you're all here for one reason and one reason only. And we do not take that lightly. We take that very seriously, and that is to produce better results. So action is a big part of it. And now I'm a big action taker. If I get an idea, I'm moving on it. I'm moving on it, and I'm moving on it fast, like lightning speed. And I've done that like so many times. I make a decision, look out, the walls are coming down. I mean, they really are. You can ask Kayla, she's my daughter-in-law. She knows knows me. Ask my husband. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that that is a habit. It's a habit that I have become involved with, is doing that, like taking action when I have an idea. In fact, over the holidays, when my husband and I were visiting his sister and her family, an idea came to my mind and I moved on it immediately. And in fact, I've made tremendous progress. I won't tell you what it is because it's a very secret project. In fact, I haven't even told Kayla about it. I'll tell you later, Kayla. But it's something that I moved on, and I prepared a sample of it, and I had my designer do it up. I actually received it this morning, and I'm ready to rock and roll with it. So this is really, really fun. And I thought how fun it was that this idea sort of came to me. Now, why do ideas come to you? That's what I want to talk about today, is why or where these ideas come from that invite you to do certain things. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I just want to see what the comments were here on the chat box. Okay. So why inspired action is really key. Now, what is the difference between inspired action and just regular action? Do you know what the difference is? Let me just stop the PowerPoint here for a moment. Let me ask you, what's the difference between just regular action or any action that you're taking and inspired action? Type in the chat box what you believe it is. Jamie says inspired action feels good. Yes. Elizabeth says intuition. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is definitely a part of it. And Eva says inspired action moves you in a good direction. Definitely. Absolutely true. Tessia. Oh, Tessia is here. Good to see you, Tessia. Intuition. Absolutely. Feels like fun, says Elizabeth. Oh, of course. Keith says doing things on purpose and intentions. Love that. Absolutely. It's kind of like you're in Dharma, right? You're in that spirit of it. June says it's emotional. Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle says inspired action may not seem logical. I love that. Geo says inspired action is a gift from God. I love that. And it's very true. Jay Teal, that's Tootie. The small, quiet voice within. Yes. All right. Great stuff. Let me see. In the direction of your goal. Yeah. Inspired action, you are committed. Yes, absolutely. Billionaire Pete. Inspired action is a God action. Love that. Spiritual guidance, says Candace. Good to see you here, Candace. I was talking about you yesterday. Inspiration energizes. Christine Lee says God's voice, listen to wisdom in you. Absolutely. Consuelo, inner knowing and divine. Yes. Okay. I love that. Ria, inspiration action is intuition and normal action is forced. Right. Right. Good one. Okay. So you guys know what we're talking about here as it relates to inspired action. So inspired action comes from alignment. That's what we're going to expand on next, right? What does it mean to be aligned? Now, you probably already know it means that you already feel as if your goal or your dreams are in your life now. And you will be guided because you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. Now, it may come in the form of a voice you hear from within. It may show up as an email that lands in your inbox. You may be watching a television show and then bam, something just pops up. You could be having a conversation with somebody and then the idea is there. But resistance is a sign of misalignment, not laziness. So sometimes people say to me, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And they're frustrated, right? It's like, what energy are you involved with right now? And the energy is an energy of frustration. And energy of frustration is a destructive energy. Any energy that doesn't feel good is destructive energy. So what kind of energy do you need to be in order to get inspired? Good energy, right? Feeling good. So if you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do, and I'm frustrated because I don't know what to do, and everything I do doesn't work out anyways, negative energy. So you got to shift your energy. You got to switch over to a better energy. We talked about that the last 2 days as well. But the results of inspired action often exceed effort-driven action. Like effort-driven is where it's like force. We were talking about a little while ago. Results of inspired action will exceed effort-driven action. So how do you know if it's inspired action or effort-driven action? You know by how you feel. You know by how you feel. That's how you know whether you're in inspired action or you're in a forced action. So inspired action is not waiting passively for things to happen. In other words, sitting back on their hands and doing nothing. That is not inspired action. It's not random or accidental. It's not about grinding or pushing harder or working harder. Like how many people have heard over their lifetime that in order to do well, you have to work hard, right? You have to work hard. If you want to do well in life, you have to work hard. In fact, it wasn't that long ago when my grandson, James, that's Kayla's son, was here visiting, and his cousin, Janie, was with him as well. And we were talking about their dreams, right? And some of the things that they want. And I love talking about that with kids. And I absolutely love that they have dreams. And so Janie, which is James' cousin, that's Kayla's niece, was talking about something that she wanted. And I said, oh, Janie, you could totally have that. I see you with that. And she said, yeah, but I have to work hard. I have to work hard. And, does it mean that you have to work hard? I think there's an aspect of the work that might feel hard. And that is what we're talking about here, the mindset stuff. But you don't necessarily have to work hard. But the challenge is that so many people, and including us as adults and children, are taught that you have to work hard, you have to work hard, you have to work hard. They hear it over and over and over and over again. And then they look at somebody who's accomplished great things in life and says, well, the only reason why he's done all that or she's done all that is because they work hard, right? Not necessarily. Really, it's not necessarily. I mean, one of the reasons why I was able to go through all of the education last year to work on securing a doctorate was because I was really working part-time. Now, I'm very focused on my business, and I probably do work more hours than most people, but it does not feel like work. It never feels like work. I'm so in love with what I do. In fact, when I walked out of my office yesterday afternoon, it was late in the day, and I walked out the door and I just saw my husband sitting there in the living room watching football. And I said to him, I love what I do so much. Now, you could ask him how many times he's heard that. I say it all the time. You see, when you are doing what you love, it doesn't feel like work. There is work involved, of course. I mean, I can't be sitting here on my butt doing nothing and expect the business to grow or expect to be serving people. I do have work to do, but it's so invigorating and so exciting and so uplifting and so inspiring as well. So that is not what it is. So how do you recognize what the inspired action is? By how you feel is what I said a moment ago. You're going to feel excited. You're going to feel energized. And the next step, because you won't know them all. You won't know every single step you need to take. But the next step may seem obvious or it may be intuitive. Now, we saw a number of people answer in the chat box on the right-hand side that intuition, we get guided intuitively, right? You will be guided intuitively. You have to trust that. That's your partner. That's the universe that has your back, ready to guide you. But in order to guide you, you have to be in harmony with the outcome. And you're going to feel confident and calm about it. You may not even question it either. Now, sometimes here's what happens. There is also a battle that goes on with this whole action thing too. The battle can occur when you're thinking you want to do something, but yet your programming or your beliefs are not already established. Okay, we did talk a lot more about that on day 2. And so you make a decision to create something or accomplish a particular goal. Maybe it's your earnings as an example, but your beliefs are not a match because you've never done that before. This is what they call a stretch goal. So you have to think differently. You have to feel differently. You have to act differently. And if you haven't already been doing that, those old belief systems or the paradigms will be battling you. They'll try and pull you back. So will it feel confident and calm all the time? Maybe, for a moment, but the battle will likely be there. I want you to understand the battle's going to go on. All right. The battle will go on. I remember asking Bob Proctor, when does this battle stop? It's not always fun, right? It can be challenging sometimes. When I think about the times over 3 years ago when I was laying in the hospital, and as I mentioned to you, knowing what I knew to do, I knew that I must focus on being in a healthy body in order to experience a healthy body again. And yet, here I was, hospitalized, very weak, stomach tube. I wasn't eating. I was, very much in a place of struggle. I knew I needed to do that. And so while all that was going on, because I was in a weakened physical state, I was also in a weakened emotional state. And part of that was also from the drugs that I was on, because I was on pain pills, because I was in an enormous amount of pain. And so they play with your emotions as well. Like it has a chemical modification that goes on in your physical body. You can override that, though. Your mind is incredibly powerful. You can override that. And that's what I did. What I'm really saying here is sometimes the action may be inspired, but it may be challenging to do it. And it may be challenging to stick with it. But stick with it because the rewards are great. And as you heard me share on day 1, the rewards are not that you're going to get the result. The rewards are going to come from how you strengthen yourself, how you recondition your mind to be in a certain way. And that becomes something that is permanent. It's always going to be there because, as we talked about yesterday, everything we take in through our senses becomes a part of our subconscious mind and our subconscious conditioning. And so we're beings that will, never get to the place of, I've got it all, right? Because there's a desire within us. This is a natural desire to want more, to experience more, do more, be more. Like I find some people when they get to that point of accomplishing their goals, that they want to give back more. They want to do more for others. In fact, I read a letter from Donna, who was talking about that as well. And I love that. That's where you reach a stage of enlightenment. When you're at a point, and this is really where Sherry Dunn is as well, is that when you reach a point where you're truly embracing your desires, knowing that they are in your heart right now, you start to think a little bit differently. You start to think about, how can I give back? I'm sure some of you already think that way. And if you don't think that way, think that way. Think more expansively, because the more you give, the more you get. It's not why you do it, but the more you give, the more you get. It's like when I told you that story about my husband going to Home Depot and met this young gentleman by the name of Jamie, who was very wise and knowledgeable about smoke detectors. And Denny came home raving about this young man. And he also told me that he was working at Home Depot because he couldn't afford to go to school. And yet he wanted to finish his university degree. He had started university, but couldn't finish it. And I said to Danny, these are the kinds of people that I love to help. Let's help him. Let's help him. And so you can do those kinds of things when you're at the point of you are experiencing the success at a whole new level. Now, you may be thinking, well, you don't even have enough for yourself right now. But when you think that way, you create that scenario. Because if you're thinking of just going incrementally increasing your results, sure, you can do that. No question whatsoever. But where the real growth occurs for you is when you do actively stretch yourself and decide to do something that you've never done before, or do something like Keith had shared with us the other day on a grand scale, like in a very impactful way. And whether it's an impactful way, small scale, you want to remain anonymous, whatever it is, it always leads to, when you give to humanity, when you give to your brother, your fellow man, and I'm not talking about your physical brother, your fellow man, good is going to come back to you. And this is part of really, it's part of the mind conditioning mastery, actually, as a daily task, is leaving people with an impression of increase. That is an action. And it's an inspired action as well, leaving people with an impression of increase, whether it is just complimenting somebody. I was at the Tim Hortons the other day. It's a coffee shop here in Canada, for those of you that aren't familiar with Canada. And Danny and I were on our way back from the trip to his sister's place. And there was a gentleman in line, and he had these really funky rubber boots on, and they were really cute. And I said to him, and my husband often comments to me, he says, you should be in politics. You talk to everybody. We go walk the dogs. I talk to anybody I see on the streets. But I do that because I, want them to know they're important. So I commented on him on his boots. We started chatting, etc. And so you can smile at another person. You could open a door for another person. You could buy their coffee for them if you want. Do something really special for another. And you're going to find that that is an inspired action that will definitely help you feel better as well. I think about when I was inspired to write Savvy Wisdom, which is the first book in the trilogy. And it is this year that these books is going to be made into a movie. And apparently they're going to start filming in the summer. And someone had asked me a question about that in the chat box yesterday. I forgot to answer it, but so there's your answer. They're going to be filming, and apparently the release is February 2026. That's the schedule that I'm familiar with. But this idea to write a fiction book was something that was an idea that floated into my inbox, actually. There was a lady that was working with us a few years ago, and she sent an email, and she asked me to do a little video for social media on how I wrote my first fiction book. And first, when I saw the request, I thought that was an odd request for two reasons. I'd never written a fiction book, and she worked for me. You think she'd know that. So that was surprising, as I was a little confused. And then I guess the second reason is, no, the first reason was that she was asking. The second reason is because I'd never written one. But I studied writing fiction. I work with many fiction authors. So when I saw the email, I just thought to myself, do I want to? And this is something you can ask yourself when you're thinking of doing something, whether it's starting another business or doing another book or doing something else or initiating a project. Just ask yourself, do I want to do it? Is this something that I would love to do? And so I see the email with the request, and then I'm thinking, would I like to do that? And I thought, yes, I would. So then I asked myself this question: what do I need to believe in order to have this go well? It's a good question to ask yourself, by the way, whenever you're going to start any project. What do I need to believe in order for this to go well or to go the way I want it to go? I needed to believe that it was easy. I need to believe that I could do it. I need to believe that I'm writing a great book. And I need to believe that I can do it relatively quickly, because I like doing things relatively quickly. And so I made a decision, and that was on the 31st of October in the year 2020. And within a day, I was writing. I went into my agenda and I looked at available space that I had, and I started blocking off time to write. A couple hours here, a couple hours there. I got up earlier every day. I gave myself 10 days to write the book. I didn't even know what it was going to be called. In fact, the name didn't come to me until I started writing the book. And I didn't know where the story was going to go either. I just asked the universe, let's do this together. Let's partner together and let's write a great book. Now, I find that writing books, and of course, I do have my Epitome Author program, to be a lot of common sense, right? A lot of common sense. Like, would you want to read this? Would you be captivated by this? Would you want to go on to the next chapter if you read this first chapter? I mean, these are just common sense questions, right? You want to write your book the way other people would want to read it. And if you've read a book, then you know how they're written, right? So it's not talking about rocket science here. And so after 9 days of writing, I got to the end, and then I realized, Hmm. I really want to have savvy. This book is a fiction book based on me meeting Bob Proctor. So I created a character named Savvy. Savy is his name. It stands for Stephen Alexander Vaughn. That's his name. So when I got to the end of the book, I had written, all my part, and I thought, you know what? I want Bob to write the letter from Sophie to Savvy. I want him to do it. And so he didn't even know I was doing this. So I reached out to Bob and he said, sure, send it to me and I'll start reading. And he did. See, he even signed his name. That's his signature. That's Bob's actual signature as Savvy. And after I wrote this book, he started calling me Sophie and I started calling him Savvy. In fact, when I sent him the book, he called me or texted me the next morning and he said, I'm mad at you. Which I knew he wasn't. He was a very fun guy and very playful. And I said, what are you mad at me for? And he said, you kept me up all night. He says, I couldn't stop reading it. And so that was just music to my ears. And this is a little photo of Bob and I sitting in his studio when we were recording the book for Audible. So we did it together in his studio. And that's a very, very precious memory that I have. So why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because this was an idea that popped in my mind. And here we are, 3 years later. It's a trilogy. Everyone has become an international bestseller, and it's being made into a movie, right? It's being made into a movie. Now, if you had have looked at my goals from 2020, was there anywhere in there that said I'm writing a fiction book? No. Is there anywhere in my goals from before that time that said, I'm writing a fiction book that's going to be made into a movie? No, it was not there. So why I mention this is because you're going to get ideas that may seem like they're completely out of left field, right? But you're inspired to do it. So pay attention to those things, those ideas that come to you, because they may be the way that you're going to get to where you want to go. It's the universe revealing to you, here's an idea for you. Now, there's many ways to get there, but this is what happens when you're truly aligned with your desires. You'll get the way revealed to you. You'll get ideas. May not come all at once with a clear map like we get on MapQuest that goes, you're here, you want to go here, and this is the route that you take. Here's an alternate route if you want to go that way. If you're on a bus, you can go this way, etc. It's not like that. You decide, you know where you are. You decide where you want to go, but you have to move in that direction. But the odd thing about it is, unlike MapQuest, is you have to go in your imagination. I'm there now. I'm already there. And then the steps and then the way gets revealed to you as you're staying in harmony with that particular outcome. So the most valuable action that you can take is consistent alignment with your goals. That's the most valuable action. Absolutely the most valuable action. And I'm going to say that after 46 years of studying, I don't see a lot of people talking about this or teaching this, but it's absolutely true. In fact, you can go to The Secret, the movie that apparently 500 million people watched. And a lot of people were confused by that because they thought all they need to do is sit back, close my eyes, visualize, and the bicycle's going to appear. And that's not true. You got to get in alignment and stay in alignment as often as possible. You have to notice when you're out of alignment. You have to notice when you're feeling negative, destructive, fearful, and you will. You're going to feel the negative emotions. Absolutely, everybody does. It is part of that duality I talked about yesterday. So you got to measure and monitor and get really, really good at it, like really good at it. And then when you find yourself out of alignment, you want to switch back. You want to switch back into alignment. We talked about that yesterday as well. How do you switch back? Ask yourself empowering questions. Now that this is done, how do I feel? Now that I have that, how do I feel? And it all comes down to your feeling, right? Your feeling. We're energetic beings. We express energy with our emotions, and it's like magnetic. It's like a magnetic force that draws back to everything, which includes the ideas and the action necessary for you to get to where you want to go. You got to follow through with it. And so that is part of the action. The biggest part of the action, in fact, is not necessarily that you're out there doing all these things. And of course, you're going to be doing things too. So if we think about authors as an example, and I wrote about a bunch of them in my new book, The Moment of Creation, because I've worked with many, many authors over the years, still work with authors, is that sometimes, authors get blocked, right? Writer's block, you've heard that term before, or they're blocked because they're thinking, oh my goodness, who would want to read my book? Or another big block is, I can't write. But you don't have to be a great writer to write a great book. You do not. I said that for so many years. You don't have to be a writer to write a great book. You just have to have the desire. And because there's editors on this planet, you can get an editor. But now we have AI. I mean, AI can help you as well if you use it, professionally and effectively. You can have AI help you actually create your content or modify your content or edit your content as well. And so, yes, there's going to be some work involved. So when I shared with you that when I was at my sister-in-law's on the weekend and an idea came to my mind, I acted on it immediately. I moved into action. When I got the idea to write Savvy Wisdom, I moved into action. When I got the idea to do Destinies Awakening, we moved into action. So all of the things that line up to do things that are taking you in the direction of your goals are all part of the action. But it comes from the emotional state of being aligned. Okay? Does that make sense? Type in the chat box if this makes sense to you and you're really understanding what I'm talking about here. Okay, good. Yes, ma'am. I like that. That's cute. All right, good. Okay, I love it. Oh, Sherry Dunn is back. There's our birthday girl. Makes sense. Thank you, Roger. Good to see that you're here. All right, super duper. Okay, so being inspired to take action comes from when you're aligned with your desires. And this is fun. I find this really, really fun. Not everybody does, though. I know there are some people that are a little more analytical and they love to know the steps and have the steps. And if that's you, then you have to really be easy on yourself, a little more relaxed with yourself as well. I think it's much easier to follow this approach when you're more right brain than left brain. Of course, I should say right brain than left brain. Right brain people are far more emotional. They make decisions usually like that. And they don't necessarily even need all the steps in front of them. They're just going to rock and roll and go. I'm an extreme right brain person. My husband's extreme left brain person. So if he's going to do something, he wants to know how are you going to get there? What are the steps? And he also wants to know the backup plan. But that's probably from his pilot training because he was a pilot in the military. And in fact, when we started dating, he had said, we're very different. I said, what do you mean? He said, when you decide to do something, you're off, you're running. He said, not me. If I decide I'm going somewhere, I have a plan, I have a backup plan, I'm trained, I know exactly how I'm going to get there. And that's fine, perfectly fine. But when we're talking about goals, when we're talking about you've decided to do something you've never done before, you won't know how. You won't know how. Now, if you do know how, it's probably not a big enough goal. It's probably not a stretch goal, but you're not going to know how you're going to get there. So there's an enormous amount of faith that's required. And faith is a muscle. And just like your physical body and the muscles on your physical body, you got to work them. And you got to work them over and over and over and over again. Now, how do you work the faith muscle? You work the faith muscle by practicing being aligned, right? Listening to your Power Life script multiple times a day, asking yourself questions like, now that this is done, how do I feel? Now that it's a success, how do I feel? These are all things that will invite the sense, the feeling into your heart so that you become that. You're feeling it. You're celebrating it. In fact, book the celebration as well. This week, I received an email from one of our participants in the Destinies Challenge who had talked about purchasing a particular dream home. And I was reading it. I was reading what they had sent. And I thought to myself, plan the housewarming party. Like plan the party. plan a dinner, plan something special. That's what I did in 1995 when I had bought that home and had no idea how I was going to pay for it. I booked a party for the night that the deal was closing. And I invited all my friends and I bought the champagne because I knew that we would be celebrating. I had intended on celebrating. And even though it was, a real stretch for me, and it was, in some ways there was a big battle going on with the old way of being, and I had to practice the faith. It's like, okay, Peggy, what would you love? Well, I'd love to own this home. What's that feel like? Feels great. Okay, go straight to feeling. These were the commands. You give yourself a command and you follow it. You got to give yourself a command. You got to be your best coach, right? You got to be your best friend. You got to just say, you got this, keep going. Don't give up. Just get back on track. There's no wavering here. Like, just, you can do this. That's why accountability partners are really important to have. To have someone that is, in the same mind space as you, somebody who's as committed as you are. In my programs, in my high-end programs, I suggest for the participants to get an accountability partner, and I tell them how to work with them, because when you're working with an accountability partner, it is there's studies actually that have shown that it will improve your productivity and it's going to improve your results as well. In fact, there was a study done by Brigham Young University that basically said if somebody says they're going to do a goal, the likelihood of them doing it is something like 10%. But if they commit to the goal and they say when, like I said, I'm going to get Savvy Wisdom done in 10 days. And then you tell somebody else. So all of these events, like making a committed decision, setting a date, telling someone else that you're going to do it, all of that moves it up slightly. But what really takes your results to a whole new level is when you commit to another that you're going to do it. That's what's really important. Today I was looking for some messages from some folks. We've got a whole folder full of people, some that are even on this call right now that have sent us testimonials over the years. We have hordes of them. I have documents filled with them. I have folders full of testimonials as well. And what's fun about when I was looking at these testimonials, and I'll share a couple of different examples with you in a minute, is that some of the folks that are, as I said, there's some that are even on this call. It was messy. It was messy at first. They got into the study and maybe they were struggling. Usually people get into this study because they have a desire for something more, and that's great. But as we know, it's not the desire that's going to get you to where you want to go. It's you doing the work, and what work? The work that we teach. The work of being aligned, the work of disciplining yourself, the work of dealing with the battle of the mind, the work of ensuring that you are committed to your goals and that you're absorbing the information that's only going to contribute and help you grow in your goals. And so, when I think about what we do here at Dynamic Destinies, we're here to help you create success in your life. And it is like a partnership as well. But the success doesn't come, or people don't earn the bragging rights because they didn't do anything. The success comes because they got inspired and they took action as a result. So it's always fun for us to look at the success of other people. So I'm going to share with you a little video clip of one of my graduating clients. This is a gentleman that I had worked with years ago. He was in my high-end programs, also work with him in a private mentoring capacity, and he's become a friend. In fact, he is now my daily accountability partner. I now have a daily accountability partner. And I love that because he is one of the very few people that sticks with it like I do. Like, I'm a wonderful accountability partner because if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And this gentleman does too. So let's hear a little bit from him of how he took inspired action.
Hi there, this is Anders Hansen, and I'm here to share with you a few words about why I believe you should be working with Peggy McColl. Peggy is not just a great mentor of mine, she's also a wonderful friend. And from the first time I met her, I knew that she had my best interests at heart, and she will have the same for you. I've participated in many of her elite coaching programs and high-level mentorship, and it is by far the most valuable thing I have ever done. And one of the biggest reasons as to why I today have a global company with about 15 people on my team, but that's not an accident. It's through mentorship that has made that happen. And she will do the same and more for you. So make sure you get to work with Peggy. Your future self will thank you. And I'm grateful on your behalf because I know how much you'll get out of it. This is Anders Hansen. Thank you.
It was fun looking at that. It was fun looking at that video of Anders because he said, your future self will thank you. And that's been a part of what we've been discussing here also in the last couple of days, is doing something. And this is what I talked about yesterday. What could you do today that your future self would say thank you for? And I think about Anders and his growth, and I've known him now for a number of years, and he is earning 7 figures. He is living in a multi-million-dollar condo in Miami. And if you look at the contrast of where he was when he started and where he is now, it's significant. I mean, it really is a successful story. It's a wonderful example of these materials in that they really, really work. You know, sometimes, and I know that that there are some people who think, well, it's easy for you. In fact, many people have said that on stage, like Bob Proctor used to say, you know, some people say, well, it's easy for you because, but Bob, you know, as many of you know, he struggled too. He just became very, very disciplined. And, you know, if you really want to have the shift, yeah, he's Danish, he's from Denmark. Yeah, if you really want to have the shift in your results, you've got to get into the study, stay in the study, and then apply what you're learning. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So Anders, you know, is somebody who we can all appreciate. I certainly do. I appreciate who he is and what he does in this world. He does very similar to work to what I do. In fact, I've gone and spoke at his events before, and a wonderful human being. And what I love about Anders is what I've just said. You know, he's definitely somebody who got in the study, stays in the study, and expands. And he really believes in mentors, but he has a kind heart. I mean, he is here to uplift the life of others. Yeah, he always shows up. You're right, Kayla. He always shows up. Definitely. Yeah, and Tootie just wrote something very significant in the chat box. She said, we must be willing to get uncomfortable too. Absolutely. And I'm sure, Tootie, you know all about that as well, being uncomfortable. Sometimes the discomfort lasts a while. Sometimes it might last for long periods of times. But I absolutely can guarantee you, the more you work on yourself, the more you work on conditioning your mind, the less uncomfortable it will be. You don't have to be uncomfortable all the time, but you definitely will experience a lot of discomfort, especially in the beginning, especially when you're up against what's called the terror barrier, because your new way of thinking is not in harmony with the old way of thinking. It's not in harmony with where you've been previously programmed. So we got to change that. And that takes some time. It's going to take a little bit of time as well. Hey, maybe he is a relative of yours. Who knows? Okay, I've got one more endorsement that I want to share with you, and then a couple more things. Then we're going to open it up for questions.
Hi there.
Let's go to Angie. Angie Tumlinson. She sometimes comes on as a guest on my calls. In fact, she might even be on today. I don't know. She's a lovely woman that I was blessed to serve. Again, another private mentoring client that has become a friend, a very cherished friend. In fact, quite often, Angie just sends me a random text. It might be on a weekend, it might be on an evening, Sunday morning or whatever, and say, Zoom with a question mark. And we get on a call. And we end up on our calls for like an hour or two. And as soon as my husband knows that Angie has sent me a text, he's like, oh, there goes the morning, which is fun. But I think you'll really appreciate her as well because she's authentic and very honest. So let's hear from Angie.
Hi, my name is Angie Tumlinson, and I'm here to tell you about my coach and mentor. You may have heard of her. Her name is Peggy McColl. I was super fortunate because I knew that I was getting ready to make a quantum leap in my life. I knew I was moving my business into a new area, and I was going to have to begin to think differently. And so as I began to look around at who could help me, there was nobody better for me than Peggy McColl. And I made that call. I was terrified to do it. And I'm so glad that I did because this year has been an extraordinary year for me. And I'm so glad that I had Peggy. You know, she has studied this material for so long and studied human potential and development. And I'm so grateful that she had, because every step along the way, as I was questioning things for myself and as I was expanding my thoughts, she would always bring me back to the potential within myself. And it made my year just really quite extraordinary. So I want to be able to help and encourage you that if you are looking for a mentor, you just could not ask for anyone better. And she is such a giver. So I'm really thankful that I made that decision.
I love Angie. She's such a doll. You know, what did she say? She said, I knew. Did you hear what she said at the beginning? I knew that I had to think differently. She had the desire to take her business to another level. Now, you may be sitting here thinking, well, I know what to do. I know what to do, and that's fine. But also, a mentor can also get you to think a little expansively. It's like when Sherry Dunn, our birthday girl, had sent me her letter to herself as she followed through with the practice of day 2. And I invited her to think differently, to think more expansively. It's like, you can do so much more than that, because I know where Sherry's heart is and I know the impact she wants to make on the world. And she said, all right, I accept. And then she sent me a revised version, which was 10 times. I love that. I love that. This was Angie too. I invited her to think more expansively, to think. And, many of the people that I work with, what they end up doing is buying in my belief in them, because I believe in them. I believe in my clients. I believe in you. I believe in your potential because I know that it's already there. I just want to help bring it out of you, bring out the greater and grander version so that you can make these changes and these manifestations in your life. Now, Angie also said that at some point she was terrified. She was terrified to even do this, to get on the call, to, make the investment. I had mentioned also how I felt when I was investing in programs in the early years, how it felt like, what am I doing? I've already got all this debt. And I'm glad I did, because what does it return to you? I mean, what can it potentially return to you? There's no guarantee it's going to return anything to you. There's no guarantee, because it's up to you to do the work, to actually follow through. But I love hearing the stories. Tessie is on here as well. Another story of success, of her accomplishments as well. I'm just going to go down my screen. Oh, there she is. And in fact, Tessia, let me know if you're willing to come on for a moment, because you're a great example. This was not planned, as I often do not plan this. Type in the chat box if you're willing to have me open up or bring you into the spotlight. And I'll just ask you a couple of questions and have you share with others of the things that you've accomplished as well, just since we've known each other. With pleasure, she says. You got to love that attitude, right? Okay, here comes beautiful Tessia. There she is. Now, this is completely impromptu, as I said, not planned. So thank you, Tessia, for your willingness. I love doing this, and I love you. I love what you do. I love your commitment to this. But tell us, where were you? Were you a little bit like Angie, before you decided to really invest in yourself?
Yes, thank you, Peggy, for the space. I'm happy to be here. So definitely, I was scared, the same thing, and mainly when it was regarding investing, I was uh, I was unsure. I had doubts. I just didn't know if it was the right thing to do. But when I was listening to what you always say, and I wanted to be that person, that future self. And I knew that my present self was, holding me back. So that's why I was not able to easily to make a decision. And then I did it. So I enrolled into all your programs. And we had as well the private mentorship as well. And my life completely changed. Like you're following me, so far. I always, come back to you every week to give you my accomplishments, and it's just different life, like completely. And it's just because I followed everything you said. So it's been a couple of years. It's been 3 years at least. But since I've wrote down my goals 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, everything is is starting to manifest. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And I love it. So I will always stick with you, Peggy, all my life. You can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
Uh, because I want to just, get better and better. So
I love
yeah,
that. I love that, Tessie. It's tears in my eyes, tears of joy. Of course, goosebumps on my arms as you're talking. I love, the things that you've done, like the inspired actions that you've taken as well. Today we're talking about inspired action. I think about, pictures that you've sent me. I won't say what they are, but, it's like things that you followed through, right? Like you're definitely somebody who's really serious about this and you're not playing small and you're going for it and you're accomplishing these things and you're always open to improvement too. And I think that's so important. Like even as we're hearing from you today and the things that you've accomplished over the last just relatively short period of time. And I know there's going to be so much more and people are going to see you, they're going to know who you are and they go, oh, I saw her on a Peggy McColl webinar one time and I really, really believe that you're very inspiring. I love your energy. I love your heart. I love that you take care of your boys as a mom, the priority as well. Kayla had mentioned before we started today that my family is my priority, always has been. Yes, I love what I do, and you are too. And you're very much a wonderful mother and take such great care of your children. And you wrote a book for parents as well. So you're incredible, Tessie, and I'm so glad that you're here and you're so inspiring, and I'm sure you're inspiring others who are on the call as well.
thank you. Thank you for everything, Peggy.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Tessia. Well, that was fun. I'm so glad that we had Tessia pop in there and share. Anyone else, if you did want to share, I can certainly bring you on. As I said, that's not part of the plan. I'm just going to go through a couple more slides and then Kayla's been collecting questions. Thanks, Kay, for doing that. Really appreciate you. She's such a blessing in my life, my little KK. I call her my KK, but everybody has ownership over her. Okay, so I put the slide back on because of what Anders had mentioned. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. And in the doingness, sometimes it feels uncomfortable, sometimes it feels scary, or it could even feel terrified. But doing something today, whether it is choosing to invest in yourself and move forward with a program or mentoring or whatever, just do something today, whether it's following through on the action or not. And that could be, part of this McColl method. So this McColl method that I've created for you, you're going to be receiving on your replay page, as I mentioned. So I want to show you what it looks like, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. So you'll be able to see when you look at the document. I have a PDF on my screen here as well that I'm going to go over with you right now. And this is what it looks like. And it's the same slide that we had on the very first day. I love this image. It's an image that AI created for me. And so it is a 33-page workbook, right? And it has all kinds of recommendations and suggestions for you. So it's very, very, very valuable. In fact, we're diving deep into this in the Destinies Mastermind program. And so as you go through this, you'll see that there's assignments here, practices, daily disciplines to get involved with, your writing out of your beliefs. And then there's going to be the guidance on the Power Life script as well, some additional tips. And then there will be something also really valuable, daily alignment, aligned actions, what we're talking about today, right? Aligned actions. What will I do today to stay in harmony with my vision? So this is where you're going to be daily making a recommendation or list, a committed list. And did I stay? So reflection at the end of the day, you do that as well. Very, very important. What will I do to improve? And then you've got all of these sheets here to support you and all of that. Then a weekly check-in. And so we will be doing an expanded version of a journal. Actually, Kayla and I are working on that right now. But this is something that can definitely get you well on your way to make sure that you're implementing what we've been going through here as well. So that is my gift to you, as well as these last 3 days that we've been investing here together. But the gifts just keep on coming, as they say, right? And so I love giving is probably the Italian side of me. My grandparents were from Italy. My mother was Italian, very, very giver, giver, giver. And I think the Italians are like that. The French are probably like that too, right, Tessia? And the Danish and every other heritage that's out there is also like that. So make sure that you definitely go through that and invest some time, because I know you're going to definitely get some tremendous benefit out of that. So that is for you, and it'll be on your download page later on today. And then I encourage you, as I've been doing each day, make sure you join the Mind Conditioning Master. We've had a number of people this week joining the program. We've got the classes ready. There's going to be 12 classes spread out over a 12-week period. All new content, all new material I have just recently recorded. And we're going to have Q&A calls once a month. There's going to be 24 videos that'll be delivered to you 2 times a week over the next 90 days as well. And there will be assignments, and your assignments are going to be sent in, and I will be reviewing every one of them, me and my team, but I look at them all. And so that is a really, really big part of it. We also have Destinies Mastermind. You can check that out. Kayla will put the links on the side there. The links will also be on your replay page. And if you are interested in the private mentorship, I believe there's 1 spot remaining. Somebody took a spot already. There is a spot available right now for January. And this could be for anything. It could be just for general self-help. It could be for writing your book. It could be for building your business. It could be for creating a program. It could be if you're a coach and you want some guidance on that. And the way that we do the mentorship is it can be done where we have calls scheduled out, or it could be all done in a day. You know, if you want to just invest an entire day with me, if you want to fly into Ottawa, we can arrange for that too. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility with the private mentorship, and there's different versions available for that. There's a version of 90 days, 6 months, or a year, but there's a lot of flexibility in that where we can do the mentorship over a couple days if you want to fly into town, and we just lock ourselves in a boardroom somewhere and work together. So that's and this is not only, I mean, it's for anyone, really, anyone that is interested in really having some personal attention. Okay, Kayla's been gathering the questions, so thank you so much, KK. I'm going to start with the first one that she has already gathered. If you're hearing that tone noise, that's because she's pasting them for me. So, woo, we got lots of them already. All right, way to go. Okay, Keith. Oh, I love Keith's questions. Never know what they're going to be, but they're always so deep and so thought-provoking. I would love your thoughts on the law of gender and instant manifestation. Like pi has a series of sequence of numbers, life would have a sequence of moments that includes divine timing, golden timing, alignment of the stars and the planets, and time itself has a role of setting things up. Growth and understanding and awareness, could it also mean things happen when you're truly ready for it? It's like when the teacher is ready, the student appears, like that kind of idea, Keith. Is that what you're thinking? Mm-hmm. All right. So it's as I mentioned, Keith always asks very, thought-provoking questions. The law of gender, this is the decree that states that there's a period of time that's going to elapse before all things will manifest in form, just like a baby, right? Like once the baby is being growing inside the mom's body, there's going to be about 9 months until the baby, 40 weeks, I believe it is, until the baby shows up in physical form, although the baby's already there. But anyways, the point is, we know the time. You plant a carrot seed in the ground, and we know how long it takes for a carrot to manifest into physical form. The part we don't know is the goal, right? When I think about Tessie and I'm thinking about one of her particular goals, I don't know whether it's been accomplished or not, but I know, and I'm going to assume, Tessia, that goal is already in your heart, right? As in your mind, it's already done. That goal is already done. But here's the thing. We don't know how long it's going to take. It could take a year. It could take a month, could take a week, could take an hour, right? You don't know how long it's going to take. However, what the responsibility is to be aligned with it as if it's already done. So you're going to demonstrate to the universe, as Tessia, you've done, and you're going to show the universe, I'm serious about this, and you take action accordingly. That's inspired action as well. Now, instant manifestation, we talked about this yesterday, instant manifestation occurs the moment you accept your desire as an accomplished fact. Okay, let me repeat that. Instant manifestation occurs the moment you accept your desire as an accomplished fact. All right, that'd be a good quote for social media, Kayla. She's already thinking that way. Kayla's a social media expert. She's many things, but that's one of her definite talents. And so you instantly manifest your desire by embracing it. I like to use the word embrace it because I think about hugging is embracing, right? You hug someone, you're embracing them. And when you're hugging someone, you love them, right? You give them a big hug because you love them. You love your goals, right? It's like Bob used to say, you're trading your life for it. And I didn't really understand what he's talking about, but this is really what he's talking about here. You're trading your life for this. Every moment you're investing, every moment you're giving your energy to your desires, you're investing. You're investing in that outcome. And the more you align with it and feel like it's here now, it's instantly manifested. Why? Think about this, okay? If the desire is to have, now I have stacks of money behind me here on my bookshelf. There's $12 million there. $12 million that's on this shelf. And so they're fake. They're fake. It's fake money. But not to me. In my mind, it's real. It's real. So and it's US money too, which is much better for us Canadians. And so when you accept this into your heart, why did you even want it in the first place? Well, you wanted it because of what it feels like to have it, right? So could you feel what it feels like to have it now? Of course, right? Of course, yeah. Of course you could. So when you do that, when you feel as if it's in your life now, what are you feeling? Now, if I asked everyone on this call, we have 100 people on this call, what are you feeling? Like, let's say I gave you $12 million. What are you feeling now that you have $12 million in your life? Type in the chat box what you're feeling if I just gave you $12 million. I like that relief. Good. Okay, that's a good emotion, right? Are we seeing any negative emotions here? No. Munsa says free. I like that. Calm, right? Peaceful, freedom, joy, rich, right? Okay, so what did you do? You felt the emotion. You feel the emotion right now. That's an instant manifestation because what you want is a feeling. Ultimately, what you want is a feeling. It's not like you want the paper. You want the feeling that goes with it. When you have your significant other and you're in your dream relationship and you're happy, you're happy. You want the feeling of being in the relationship, right? When you're a success in your career and you're thriving and you're doing what you love and you're being compensated really, really well for it, what are you feeling? You're feeling great, jubilant. I like that, Laura Lee. Gratitude, right? Instantly, you bring it into the present moment. You bring it into the present moment because you embrace the feeling of having it. That's an instant manifestation. That's what you should be doing all day long, guys. All day long. And measuring it. I use my measuring sheet right here. All part of the moment of creation, by the way. You guys are going to love this book. Love, love, love this book. It is so good. I think it's the best book I've ever written. I do. Again, it's not bragging. It's just because of the work. Kayla's waving her hand. So she's been reading it. She's going to endorse it. And I'm very grateful for that. But this is really what it is, guys. I mean, this is really what it is. It's embracing what you desire in your heart now, knowing that it's here right now. That's how you instantly manifest. And that's ultimately what you want to be doing. Because if you're asking me why it's not here yet, you're not in alignment. If you're saying to me that you're feeling very frustrated, you are not in alignment. If you're telling me that it's really hard work, you are not in alignment. I'm not degrading those things. I'm not trying to minimize. Well, actually, I am trying to minimize. I'm definitely trying to minimize those things because that doesn't serve you, right? Being frustrated, feeling anxious does not serve you. Now, you'll feel it. That's okay. But you want to be focused on the feeling of having what you desire as your dominant way of being, your dominant way of being. You want to feel more in alignment than not aligned. You'll feel unaligned, you definitely will, but you want to be focused more on being aligned than not. All right, that's the idea behind it. Okay, so you'll begin attracting, but because we don't know like what else was going on. And we're not the only manifestors in the world. We're all manifestors. We're all manifesting. That's why when somebody says to me, like they have a particular house in mind that they want to manifest, and they'll say, oh, well, I'll give you an example of that. This is a really good example. There's a draw in our city, in the city of Ottawa, called the CHEO Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario Dream of a Lifetime Draw. And what they do is for $100, you can buy a ticket, and the prize is a beautiful home, beautifully designed, decorated, furnished. I mean, it's gorgeous. They're usually gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm really hoping my son wins this year. And so I bought him a ticket for his birthday. And so, and I bought two of the homes. I bought two CHEO Dream of a Lifetime homes in the past. The one's around the corner. I used to live in that one. Magnificent home. It's about 6,600 square feet. And I bought one in 1995. That's the home that I bought. Anyway, so here's my point. There's a draw, and there are thousands of tickets sold, and the tickets are $100. Everyone that buys a ticket has a chance to win, right? Anyone with a ticket has a chance to win. If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance to win. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? It's like somebody who complains they're not winning the lottery. Well, did you buy a ticket? You got to buy a ticket, right? It's part of the process. And this is how I ended up with that CHEO Dream of a Lifetime home in 1995, because it was the 1994 CHEO Dream of a Lifetime home. And there was a draw. And I went to that home many, 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 many times, and I visualized living in it. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't visualize winning it. I visualized owning it. I visualized living it with my son. And I did end up buying it and lived in it for 8 years with my son, but I didn't visualize winning it. So could we actually visualize winning a lottery? Sure. But here's another interesting part of manifestation. How it's going to happen is how it's going to happen. What do you ultimately want? You want a home that you own, right? That's ultimately what you want. Like if anyone wants to win the CHEO Dream of a Lifetime home, it's not because they want to win the home. They want the money, right? Now, I suspect if my son won, which is Kayla and Michelle, if they won, they'd sell it, right? I don't think they're moving to Manotick, which is what I would really love. But they have a beautiful home. They live in another province. They're likely going to stay there. But if they won it, why would they want to win it when they have no intention of ever living in there? Because it's worth $3 million and they can sell it. And Wendy Bai, who's on the call, could be your agent. and she could sell it for you. And then you end up with $3 million. And then you could do whatever you want to do with your $3 million. And so this is what's fascinating about all this is we can certainly claim things, but we also have to have a level of detachment of how it's going to happen. See, I ended up with that home. I did, because I visualized it so much. Like I was just imagining my keys going in the door and I'm walking in and all these people that are there visiting the CHEO home were visiting me. I sat with a lady at the table who was selling tickets for the CHEO Dream of a Lifetime, and there were cookies there. And I imagined I baked them. I didn't, but I'm imagining I baked these cookies, and I'm looking behind her. And I'm looking outside, and I think it had snowed, and there was snow on the ground. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be so exciting to live here at Christmas time, right? With all the white snow, and it's going to be so pretty. And that's visualizing, right? Regularly visualizing until you become one with it. That's what I did. And I ended up getting the home. Now, how I ended up paying for the home was through a completely bizarre way. I ended up being part of an IPO, initial public offering, a stock transaction. I wasn't familiar with the stock market. I had no idea. You don't have to know how. You don't have to know how. It could be the last minute and it all falls into place. But all the while, you're staying aligned. Don't give up on that dream. Even if you're not seeing the results, even if your bank account is not reflective of what you would love, even if you haven't met that person, even if you're not living in the home that you want to live in, you got to believe it in your mind. You got to really, really embrace it and accept it as done, not forcefully, in a relaxed way. The more relaxed you are, the better it goes. The more relaxed you are, the better it goes. All right. Thank you. Yeah, you can't get upset if it takes time. Well, you can, but it's not a good idea. Thanks, Kayla. I appreciate you writing that there. Okay, let's go to the next question. Um, I actually, before we go to the next question, I want to just add on something to Keith's question, because he said at the end of his question, he said, growth in understanding and awareness, could it also mean things happen when you're truly ready for it? I think about the quote in Napoleon Hill's book that says that you have to be truly ready for it. So what does it mean to be truly ready for it? It means you've accepted it, right? Like you've accepted it as your own. I remember one time having a conversation with a client who told me that she wanted to be an actress, and she was a mom. She had a couple little kids, and her husband ran a business, and it was here in Ottawa. And I said, okay, so tell me what that looks like. Give me the, like the whole picture of it. I want to get a vision of what this would look like for you. And she started to think about all the reasons why it wasn't going to work, right? Because she lives in Ottawa. It's like, can you be an actress and live in Ottawa? Sure, you can be an actress and live anywhere. You might have to be willing to travel, to go and do a shoot somewhere. I mean, when you're called, when there's a production, like whether it's movie or TV or whatever kind of acting you're looking to do, stage acting. I mean, we don't have a lot of big stages here, but they do in New York City or in London or in other parts of the world. So, sometimes it's important to, when we're talking about getting ready for it, to really think, like put some thoughts. That's why we talked on day 1 of Destinies Awakening about the clarity. What does it really mean? The clarity of all of it. And the more we discussed it and she started to think about it, she thought, the sacrifice here for her, this is what she thought, was her family. Now, did she have to sacrifice her family? No. Could her family have moved to LA? Let's say she became a big name actress and she got a job or a part in LA. Yeah, they could have gone with her. In fact, I was asked recently to be on a reality TV show, and which is right now being presented to a number of different studios. And I'm going to be a part of it. And if it happens, that means that I'm going to be doing a little bit of traveling. And I talked to my husband about it, and I said to him, I have no intention to be away from you and the doggies. Like, I love them. I love my husband, I love my doggies, I love my family too. And I said, but I'm not doing this unless you're coming with me, and you and the doggies. And so he said, absolutely. As I wouldn't have said yes to that offer if he was not coming with me. And so when we're considering and we're thinking about all the things that we desire to do, this is why clarity is really important, to think about the bigger picture of what it really, really means, to do these things. Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. This one is from Kishon. I still want to get the course on how to publish my book and become a New York Times bestseller. Fantastic. Go to epitomyauthor.com and get in right now. In fact, we have a Q&A call next Thursday, so you can dive right in. All right. Jamie says, we sometimes have to do things we don't like to get what we want, correct? I think I saw something in the chat box that said your question had been answered. But let's talk about that, because I think that's important. And it's probably not only Jamie that has this question. Other people may have this question as well. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't like to get what we want. Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, there are times like when I decided to go for the PhD, it was a lot of work. I mean, there was a lot of study. There were a number of exams, and I don't even remember how many exams in total. And then I had to write a thesis, and then I had to write a dissertation, and did I really want to do all that work? No, but I did it. I'm glad I did. It was the best thing that I've ever done in my career. But sometimes we have to do those things. Writing this book, The Moment of Creation, it was an enormous amount of hours. I mean, it was even on Christmas Day, I actually snuck into my office and I did some work for a couple of hours. But you've probably heard about the common denominator of success. Have you guys heard of what the common denominator of success is? Yes. Okay. Eva's nodding her head. The common denominator of success is people who are successful are willing to do the things that unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. Right? There's a lot of people that want the results. They want more money. They want to produce better results, but they're not willing to do the work. They therefore remain bound. That's one of the quotes, right? They therefore remain bound. Why do they remain bound? Because they're not doing any work, but they're not getting better either. Because if you're not working on getting better, things are getting worse because nothing stays the same. So it's important. So yeah, definitely there's a big commitment in that. Next question is from Gab Gab. And she says, I understand that your purpose is the following. I'm here to make a positive, beneficial contribution to the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Question, what do you visualize? How is your feeling as if you've already had your desire fulfilled or your goal accomplished? My purpose is similar, but it is hard to have a picture and visualize it. Okay, so get rid of that idea that it's hard, okay, because that could be preventing you. All right, so what do I see? I see emails landing in my inbox from people that have read my books, watched my videos, been part of my program, and how it's impacted them. They flood in. I see large audiences. I see that. I see my bank account reflective of that as well. I see the success of things that I've released in this world, like the Oscar that's on the wall back here, or awards or accomplishments that I have. You don't have to have all those things. Just pick one. Just choose something that would be reflective of you living your life on purpose. For me, it's about the impact. And so what I see is that I've made an impact. And so I see it in communication. That's how I see it. I see people making comments. I see requests coming in to be interviewed in certain places. I see my books on the top of the charts. You know, those are the things that I see. And I'm glad you have a similar purpose as well, Gab Gab. That's wonderful. Okay, Lynn says, I can have an idea, but I don't have the network, community, or professional team to help. I don't know how or where to start. Get rid of that last part of that question. You don't have to know how, and it doesn't matter what you have or don't have today. It doesn't matter. Of course, you wouldn't have it today because you haven't done it yet, right? You'll attract everything that's requisite for the fulfillment of the desire. You got to get in harmony with it. You have to believe that it's already here. Then you're going to get the network and the community and all the people. Like you have to go there first. Go there means go there in consciousness. I wrote about that in my book, The Moment of Creation, that when I decided to become a New York Times bestselling author, which I am, when I decided to become a New York Times bestselling author, wasn't sure how that was going to happen. Yeah, I'd been into book marketing already, but things started to happen that were what's considered miraculous, right? Calls from certain people. Good Morning America. Like all of a sudden I'm getting emails from people going, I want to promote your book. It's like, wow, where'd that come from? Right? Neil Donald Walsh writing the foreword for my book and saying I'm grateful to Peggy McColl for having written it. It's the best book I've ever read. Like those are the kinds of things that happen when you're in harmony with what you desire. So forget the other part. You know, there's a quote by Don Shula that goes like this: it is the start that stops most people. But why is it the start that's stopping most people? Because as soon as they start to think of something that they'd like to do, immediately behind it comes the flood of the reasons why they can't, right? I know you know what I'm talking about. Many of you know exactly. Yeah, Valerie's nodding her head. You know exactly what I'm talking about here, right? You start thinking, and it probably happened this week. And if it didn't, you're not stretching yourself, right? Like I'm sure it happened for many of you, if not all of you this week, that you had that experience. Yeah, Eva's nodding her head too. Of course, that's called growth. Right? So just hear my words when I say you don't have to know how, but you absolutely must get in harmony with it. And then you will attract everything. That's a challenge for people that, as I mentioned, the analytical ones, the left brainers, because you're believing in something you can't see. You're believing in something you have no idea. When I decided I was ready for my significant other to come into my life, when I was ready for Denny, and I didn't know Denny even existed on the planet, I made the decision. I'm in a happy, healthy, loving, committed relationship with a significant other who values family first, like I do, who's very responsible, respectful, authentic, honest, true. Like I just decided what the characteristics or the character was in my significant other. And as you hear me talk about, we're different. That's okay. I honor him. He honors me. You're not going to attract the exact same person as you are. But what I love about Denis is that Denny is a very confident man. He's a kind-hearted man. He's a genuine person. He's good-hearted. Billionaire Pete and him have become good friends. He is an incredible man. I attracted this incredible man. That's why I said yesterday, he's my greatest accomplishment to date. He really is. Why? Because he's so extraordinary. He's such a wonderful being. And so I attracted him by getting in harmony with, I already had him in my life. And it took 2 weeks from the moment I made the decision to have him till I met him. I was out walking my dog. He moved in the neighborhood. He'd been transferred here he was in the military for 30 years. He was a pilot, used to fly our prime minister, and he was transferred to Ottawa. And he was unpacking his boxes and moving into my neighborhood, well, our neighborhood. And that's how I met him. Unexpected. Did I know how that was going to happen? Did I have the network of the people? I mean, some of my girlfriends were saying, well, come out to the bars or go to the bars. Like, I don't want to go to the bars. Well, go on those dating sites. I don't want to go on the dating sites. Nothing wrong with the dating sites, by the way. I think it's pretty common now, but 20 some odd years ago, it wasn't as common as it is today. So I wasn't interested in that. So somebody would say, well, what do you think? He's going to show up at your door? I don't know. Maybe. But he did. He showed up on my door. He came knocking on my door one day and wanted me to watch his dog because he had to go fly the prime minister and it was a last minute flight and he knew I had a dog. So it's like, sure, bring your dog in. And he came back and the rest is history. We've been together now for 20 years. So this is why you don't have to know how. I bought that house, didn't know how. Stock transaction, IPO. I didn't even know how to spell IPO. And then boom, this is what happens. The miraculous part of manifestation. It is incredible. But you know what? It works for all of us. It works for anyone. It works for everyone. When you get in harmony with what you desire. It's very important that you're doing the work. Okay, next question is from Jamie. How do you execute inspired action when you run into difficulty, something very challenging? This must be where you had said you got the answers to your questions. So how do you execute inspired action when you run into difficulty? Just recognize that difficulty is just an illusion. Don't see it that way. Change your perspective. Create a new version. Allow it to be easy. Choose for it to be easy. Maybe break it down into smaller chunks. All right, Valerie, is Savvy Wisdom 2 coming soon and Audible? What's funny is I was thinking about this last night. And this is a very strange thing. I don't even know how this happened. I actually have Savvy Wisdom 2 on my desk here because I've recorded half of it and I didn't finish it. And I have the book on my desk and I was thinking about that last night. And so I go into to my Finder on my laptop and I can see that there's no Savvy Wisdom folder. All of my Savvy Wisdom files are gone, like poof, up in smoke. So it's like, what happened? So I do a search, Savvy Wisdom. And then I can see, there's a mail with an attachment and it's like, none of it is there. I have no idea what happened to all my Savvy Wisdom files. But fortunately, I have one of these backup. It's going right now. Actually, see a little pulsating light there. I have a backup of my hard drive. And so I went to my backup and I found it, thankfully. And so I'm putting that back on track. I'll have it done this month. So thank you for asking about Savvy Wisdom 2 and the Audible version of it. Okay, next question is from Regina. What is your advice on doing disciplines and staying aligned when you feel negative, sad, defeated, sick, etc.? That's the time that you need to do it more. When I think about, sorry, I saw Jamie's question. It distracted me there for a moment. I don't even know what device I have, actually. I bought it at the Apple store. Wait a minute. Let me go back to where I was. I got distracted there for a sec. My fault. Okay. Disciplines and staying aligned when you feel negative. Yeah, this is a time when you need it most, right? Like you got to force yourself to push play, right? Not that difficult. You got a finger. You can just, boom, get yourself aligned. Watch videos, right? We've got a YouTube channel. Watch our video. Follow us on Instagram. Kayla is always doing some wonderful, inspiring posts as well. Go into programs that you've bought in the past. Read the books. Like, this is what you have to do. It's the time when you need to do it more than ever. Like what I mentioned today, that when I was in the hospital and I knew I had to really get my mind going in the right direction because I didn't feel it. I mean, I was not only physically whipped, I was emotionally whipped and psychologically whipped too. So I did not feel like listening to a Power Life script, but I did it because I knew it was going to save my life, and it did. It was absolutely important for saving my life. So it's at those times, I think about intensive care, like if somebody really needs care and they go to a hospital and they get hooked up to monitors or IVs and things like that, or medicine is being dripped into the body through, veins, etc. It's because they're really sick, right? And sometimes when we're really out of balance, or when we're feeling sad, depressed, or anxious, or whatever other emotion, sometimes we need to hook up an intravenous of motivation, right? We gotta, dive in, like just spend hours and hours and hours watching videos. That's social media is a great place to do it as well. Go to YouTube. There's so many great videos on there, and just make sure you stay away from the stuff that's, not really going to serve you. So it definitely is a discipline. You won't feel like it, but you got to do it anyways. I have no idea which backup system I use, and I'm not. Oh wait, there's a name on it. Porsche. Ha! Porsche design. That's what it says. I like it. Okay, Bruno. Thanks for talking about effort-driven versus inspired action. Could you please give me some more explanation, understanding on how the signs from the subconscious mind will come? A tell in the mind, a dream, or somebody else? Yes, yes, and yes. All of those things. It might be just an idea that pops in your mind. It might be something you hear. It might be something you see. You might be watching a television show and then somebody says something that has nothing to do with you, but it prompts you or reminds you to take some action. Okay. Our Club Achieve sessions live. Yeah, we did one this morning. So clubachieve.com is our study class. And we do them live every day at 9 a.m. for about 15 minutes. But it's also recorded. So the recording is sent out. So not everybody who's in Club Achieve gets on. In fact, I think less than half get on live. Most people watch the replay. Hen says, can you please elaborate more on accepting the idea and then forgetting about it? Well, you don't forget about it. Instant manifestation versus writing the goal every day, visualizing it and feeling the feeling every day. Nobody forgets about it, because when you're feeling it, you have to be energetically aligned, which means you are focused on it. You haven't forgotten about it. You're relaxed in knowing that it's there. But what you're seeing in your mind's eye, or what you're writing or visualizing, is having it, right? Or experiencing it. I manifested my dream house as an unconscious competent by just accepting the idea. I want this so much, it's already mine, and then totally forgot about it. However, I haven't achieved my goal of income in 3 years, even though I work on it, but still working on it. Yeah, it's working from. It's not working toward, it's working from. So you have to believe that your income's already where you want it to be. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm easily earning whatever that is. And you embrace that every day. Now, when someone hasn't already accomplished that, they want to remind themselves and remind themselves and remind themselves and remind themselves. That's why using tools such as a Power Life script is very helpful, because it impresses and impresses and impresses, or having visuals of something that is a reflection of you already earning that kind of money. Right? So what would that look like? Like, I live in Canada, and we get something when we file our income tax, we get something called a notice of assessment. Notice of assessment is when Revenue Canada confirms your income. So mock one up, make one up, make your bank account up, have it be visual to show that you have all this money already there. And that could be the things that you're doing, but have all of it be fun and enjoyable. None of it's forceful. And so, yeah, you've accepted it, but you're still doing work. There's still a lot of work involved to visualize it and believe it. And, part of writing it out every day while you're feeling it, I'm so happy and grateful that I easily earn, whatever it is that you're earning, and just embrace that as an outcome that's already been accomplished. Okay. All right. Connie. Okay. What would you do when things are about to happen and you're nervous? I really need to ramp up being the person who manifests as the #1 New York Times bestseller and has media people pursuing her. I love it. Nervousness can also be excitement, and it's very, very closely aligned. I would turn it over to excitement, like the feeling of joy, the feeling of gratitude, knowing that you're already there. So if you just take a moment and imagine that you're already the #1 New York Times bestselling author and how good that feels. And you do that repetitively, like you've got to do that all day long, right? Until it becomes natural. You want it to feel natural for you. How does it feel natural? Where there's no question in your mind. I'll give you a very, very simple example. When Denny and I started dating, and he was in the military, as I mentioned, for many, many years, and earned a guaranteed income. Paychecks were deposited into his bank account with regularity. And I was an entrepreneur, and I established my company in 1994. And he knew I was a single mom, and I was an entrepreneur and running my own business. So he asked me this question. He said, well, what happens when you're not earning money? And I didn't understand that question at all. I thought it was a bizarre question. It didn't make even sense to me. And I said to him, I don't even understand the question. Why are you asking this question? And he said, well, you're self-employed. Like, he worked for the government. Like, there's a guarantee his paycheck's going to be in his bank account as long as he's employed by the government. And it's pretty hard to get fired after being an employee of the Department of National Defense for 30 years, right? Unless you do something really bad. You can get fired, but, in his mind, he had a guaranteed job forever. And so I said to him, I'm always earning money. It's who I am. I'm a money earning machine. That's what I said to him. That's because that feels natural to me. That's a natural feeling that I have. I don't even know when I created it, but it's a natural thing. There's no question in my mind I'll always be earning money. And I remember one time I was interviewing Bob Proctor. And I love prosperity consciousness. I love teaching people about abundance and attracting more abundance in their life. And I was interviewing him about money and wealth and riches and abundance and prosperity. And I asked him this question. I said, what is your greatest belief about money? And he answered me like that. And he said this, how easy it is to earn it. That's what he said, how easy it is to earn it. Now, how many of you believe it's easy to earn? Be honest. Okay, Eva, thank you for that. How many of you type in the chat box? Honest answers. How many of yeah. Okay, Ella believes that. Okay, good job. Sherry, of course you do. Now I do, says Tootie. Okay, good. Easy to earn and spend. Yes, absolutely, Elizabeth. I like it. Okay, I believe it. Good. All right, good. JJ, honesty. I like that. To me comes not easy. Okay. All right. Would you like it to be easy? Let me ask that question. For those of you that said it's not easy, would you like it to be easy? Are you willing to have it be easy? Yeah, of course. Now, if you're willing to have it be easy, what you want to do is get to a point where that is an absolute yes, it's easy to earn money, where you really believe it because you feel it, right? You've embraced that idea. Of course, it's easy to earn money. Easy. Bob Proctor said it's the easiest thing, earning money. And I smiled when he answered that question because I thought, it's not what I thought he was going to say. It's not the answer that I thought he was going to give me, but I was pleased with the answer that he gave me because I agree 100%. I believe there's always a way to earn money. There's always, if you have a thinking mind, especially since they made this thing called the internet, like I've been teaching people for years how to earn money online. I've had clients of mine earn millions and millions and millions of dollars. I had one client take one idea and did $10 million with it. That's all you need. I have another client that I work with that did 25 million with one idea. You see, how do you attract that kind of money? I hope you know now, because you've been with me for the last 3 days. You get in harmony with already having it. With the result, it's already there. You're already there, right? Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next question. We got a couple more. Munsa, I would like to know your morning routine. All right. Good question, Munsa. I switch it up sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll switch it up. So the first thing I do is I like this morning, I woke up at 5, actually, and it went to bed rather late last night, which is not like me, but it might be a new pattern here for the new year. And I still woke up at 5 and I started listening to my nighttime. I call it my nighttime Power Life script because I recorded it with piano music in the background. It's very soft, very slow, very quiet. So in go my headphones and I begin listening. And I listen to that for at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And then I do meditation. And after my meditation, I listen to 4 other audios. They're short. One's 3 minutes, one's 30 seconds, the other one's a minute. And I listen to those. And then I do my gratitude right away. I'll do my affirmations. I do them in front of the mirror. I do them every day. And then I start listening to my Power Life script. And I'm listening to my Power Life script until I come into my office and I study every day as well. But I have my goals list on my goal journal right here on my desk. It's always right there. And I review my goals. Now, the audios that I listen to are ones that I made. They're ones that I made for myself. I mentioned them a little while ago. Those are the ones that I listen to. Meditation is a guided meditation that I have from Dr. Paul Masters. And I found it online and it was on YouTube, I think, and I played it and recorded it onto my Power Life Script app. So it's right there. That's what I listen to. I also do silent meditation, but that's later in the day. But you asked what my morning routine is. So that's my morning routine. All right. So always those things. Let's go to the next question. Can you speak on welcoming again and describe how it's used and when to use switching? All right, Candace, great question. Yeah, welcoming is a process of, it's a process that I learned through a client of mine, actually, who became a friend and who, in fact, we started doing seminars together, Dr. Gay Hendricks. And this was a philosophy that he really believed in. And what it means is that when you notice resistance, because resistance shows up, right? Like resistance will show up when you're out of alignment. Resistance is simply your old paradigms putting up the battle, right? Like you've decided to do something you've never done before, and then all of a sudden the old way of being starts popping up, like, who are you to do that? And you can never earn that, or you can never accomplish that. And so you're not smart enough. You're not old enough. You're not young enough. You're not in the right country, like whatever other, reasons start popping up. That's the resistance. That's what you welcome. And the reason why you welcome it, not to keep it, but to release it. You welcome it because it's a part of who you are. It's like the other day when somebody said, okay, they were maybe, I don't know whether they were upset by this, but the truth is that everything that we've ever taken in through our senses is become a part of our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is a very powerful thing. And so that's our programming, right? It's all within our subconscious mind. And it's always going to be there. Now, yes, we can create new beliefs and we can create new paradigms and by giving more attention to something and building it. And what that does is it drowns out the other one, right? It's like Bob used to say they die from malnutrition, but they're still there. They're dormant. They may be laying there, in fact. And so it's always going to be a part of you. So if you notice it, that's valuable. All right. That's very valuable because you notice what's going on, right? I'll give you an example of that. I think real life examples are often very helpful. When I went through my divorce in 1995 from Charles, who is a wonderful man, by the way, the father of my son and Kayla's father-in-law. Of course, I'm only going to speak well of Charles. So when I went through the divorce with Charles, I had a personal realization. And the realization that I had was that I did not feel worthy of love. I didn't feel I was worthy of a loving relationship. And it was in that experience that it was sort of on my radar, right? I became aware of that. And it was like, wow, all right, this is valuable. It's valuable because now I know what to do, right? Now I know what I need to focus on in this experience. What I need to focus on is I am a loving being. I deserve love. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of having a loving, lasting relationship. And so that's what I chose to do, was to build upon that. So when we welcome what you're doing is you're welcoming a part of who you already are, right? It's a part of you. It's a loving thing to do. And so when you notice resistance is there and you just simply say, oh, okay, I get this. You're a part of what's, underlying within my own subconscious mind. You don't serve me anymore. So I'm building a new one, right? It's like Buckminster Fuller said, we don't necessarily fight against the old, we build a new. So we're not going to fight the old paradigm. We're going to build a new paradigm. And the new paradigm is a new belief system that's going to support the life that you are choosing to live. Okay. Great questions today, guys. Really appreciate all these questions. Okay. Let's go to the next one. I think I have a couple more. Okay, can you ask Peggy again to discuss the things we need to do every day to keep up with the positivity and why it's so important? I think the best thing, great question, Connie. The best thing that you can do is listen to your Power Life script, right? Like listen to your Power Life. If you've written it right, if you've written it well, and I know you have, Connie, because you've been listening to yours for a while, it's like, listen to it again. Now, sometimes people will need to change it up a little bit. You might need to add more enthusiasm to it, add more excitement to it. But if you're finding that your Power Life script isn't as motivating, maybe you need to modify it. And it could be just a slight modification that you need to make. But that is absolutely the best way. Just listen to it over and over and over and over and over again. I listen to my Power Life script minimum 7 times a day. And it's usually a lot more than that. I always set that as a bar, but I know I listen to it. And it right now is about 6.5 minutes long. And so that's not difficult to listen to it. It was in the past longer than that, but now it's about 6.5 minutes in length. So listen to that, and that'll definitely help you. And if not, go and, like you were telling me in an email the other day, watch the videos again or read the books again. Like just saturate your mind in these materials. It's definitely going to make a difference. Okay, Maria, I hear from a neurologist that you don't need to visualize and affirm all day long because it's like the gym. If you do exercise for many hours, this does not give you the result and probably you're going to give up. He told that it's better to visualize 15 minutes and once a day to build the muscles. What do you think about that? All right, well, I think it depends. For somebody who is a highly evolved being, somebody who is used to being in harmony with what they desire, in other words, they're living it now, sure. But for most people, no, because they're not aligned. Most people are in struggle, right? Most people are not where they need to be in their mind. And so doing the practices with regularity, it's not, but nobody's visualizing 24 hours a day or 12 hours a day. It's not that you're doing this work all day long. It's that you're going to be focused on feeling their result all day long. So that could be just a matter of looking at something and it's a reminder, or you have a gratitude journal and you're thinking, oh, I want to write in there right now about something that I'm really grateful for. And oh, that's a good question, Mansa. I like that. And you're asking the right person too. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So, really I don't know anybody that visualizes all day long anyways. I don't. I just mentioned my morning routine, but after that, I'm in my office and I'm ensuring that every hour I'm aligned. I have my hourly checklist and I have my journals around me. I have my goals journal. I read it. I have my remembering journal on my left and I write in it. And if I get up and do laundry or something like that, or go to the store or go to get my nails done or whatever, I'm listening to my Power Life script again. And you can be thinking about it, all day long. But I don't think anybody is going to be at the mental gym all day long, for sure. It's just probably not realistic. Okay, Munsa says, is it okay to watch suspense or crime movies? Does it affect the subconscious? I love suspense and crime movies, Munsa. Love them. Absolutely love them. And, I wondered about that question. And here's the thing, and I'm going to remind everyone of a quote that I used, I think it was yesterday, by Aldous Huxley, which is, there's only one corner of the universe that you have any control over, and that's your mind, right? And so you'll be watching these shows. I'm fascinated by them. And my husband and I, we love Dateline NBC. It's one of our favorite shows. Like there's a channel on the network, Oxygen. There's a channel, Investigation Discovery, and there's all these shows. There's series. Like I mentioned that I was watching a series last night with my husband Denny. It's called Blackbird. Now that's about a serial killer, and it was 6 episodes on Apple TV. And my friend had told me about it, and she says, "I think you like it because you like these shows. You like detective shows. You like solving mysteries. You like that kind of thing." And so that's okay to watch it for sure. Just don't get emotionally involved in it, right? Like, the other thing is that we as a human, we are going to feel sad and we're going to feel happy, right? That's the duality that I was talking about. We're going to feel scared and we're going to feel confident. We're going to feel those emotions. It's just part, Candace says, not the response that I was expecting. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what it really comes down to is just managing your own emotions with it, right? Like when we watched that show last night, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific what that man did. It's based on a real story, by the way. It is absolutely based on a real story. And so, sorry, I just got distracted again by another comment that I saw on the right-hand side. And so just manage your emotions. Like when we finished watching some of that last night, I said to my husband, we got to either put on some sports or put on something funny because I want to sort of change my energy. But what I did was I started listening to my nighttime script, and then I went and meditated. And so I changed my energy before I went to bed. So, and I always do that anyways. I always put my mind in the right space before I go to bed, because the most influential time is just before you go to bed. That's the most influential, instrumental. It's the most important time for you to get your energy right is just before you go to bed. So I have my nighttime script that I listen to. I don't keep it going. Sometimes I will fall asleep with it on, but I'll usually shut it off and then, drift off into sleep or back into sleep. So I find that, yeah, Eva says, I listen to my Power Life script when my husband listens to Dateline. I love that. That's something else you could do. You can still have it on, but listen to something else as well. Okay. Belleen says, many people ask me if I work out for hours a day. I work out for 15 to 30 minutes. Some people have this assumption one must work out for hours a day to achieve the results. Yeah, it's, this is all fun stuff. I think about the clarity of the study of what I've been involved with. Really one of my exciting, no, I use headphones. One of the most exciting things that I did in 2024 was, going through the doctorate program, because it brought so much more clarity, because I had to do the study and the research to prove a particular point. And my thesis was on the topic of how to go from lack mentality to prosperity mentality, which is, as you guys know, one of my favorite subjects. So love doing it. But it brought a lot of clarity, because you have to go and prove your point from all these resources. It's not just you. Like a thesis is not you talking about, what your thinking is, or your understanding, or your practices. You got to go and do all the research and then essentially prove it. And then the dissertation that I did was the most effective way to reprogram the subconscious mind. That was fascinating. I loved doing the work on that, because then you had to find 15 resources, books. 10 of them had to be books. And I, used some scientists as well, because I wanted to prove, the most effective way to reprogram the subconscious mind. But it's all very fascinating, writing the moment of creation while all that was going on as well, and just finishing that book was such an enlightening experience, because it really brings it all home. And one of the chapters that's in this book, I'm just going to pull over the printed copy of the book, is right here. And these are all the chapters. There's actually 28 chapters with some bonus chapters in there as well. But one of the chapters that's in here is a chapter it's not a one size fits all. Chapter 24. It's not a one size fits all scenario. We're all here, even while we've been together here for the last 3 days in the Destinies Awakening event. We're all here at this point in time from different countries at different points in our life. Some have been in the study longer than others. Some have accomplished things. Some have accomplished things and then they've completely fallen off track and want to get back on track again. But we all came here with a different belief system. There may be some similarities, but my belief system is going to be different from your belief system and the next guy's belief system, etc. So it gets real fascinating. And, you know, we can see comments on the right-hand side, do this, do that, do that. You got to find what works for you, right? You got to really find what works for you. You don't have to do everything that I teach. You know, I look at it this way. I like to feed people the way my Italian grandmother fed us. And that was abundantly, right? Like when we went to my grandma's house for dinner on Sundays, there'd be an enormous amount of food. Maybe it's the Italian way, I don't know, but there'd be a lot of food. And we'd leave there stuffed, like where your cheeks are like this, you know, where you have to loosen your belt, you know, like that kind of thing. And you have to eat it all. And that's what I think with personal development. You have to eat it all. Just go and find the things that work for you. Chew on those for a little while, right? Give that a try. That's why sometimes I'll change things up. But ultimately, I want you to really hear this, okay? I want you to really hear this. I can sum this up in a matter of minutes because we only have a couple minutes remaining here on our call together. That's why I wrote this book, The Moment of Creation, which is the precise moment. This is the subtitle, the precise moment where intention becomes reality. And that is this. When you want something, you got to claim it. You got to claim it as your own. And then you have to accept it into your heart as a fact, as it's already done. And you got to do that until it becomes natural for you. Because when it is, it's absolutely, definitely guaranteed to show up in your life. There's no other way. It works. It works for anyone. It works for anything. Try it. So when I think about what's the Destinies Challenge, it's challenging you to do something today your future self will thank you for. Whether you're going to work with me, well, thank you, Keith. What a nice thing. Keith G says, best masterclass ever. Or you're going to study more, you're going to listen more, you're going to follow through, you're going to download the McColl method, you're going to go through that. Whatever it is, do something today that your future self will thank you for, and do it every day. Do it tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Just keep it up because life will get better and better and better. So I want to thank you all for being here. I'm so pleased that you registered and so pleased that you showed up. It's been absolutely my pleasure to serve you. You guys have been amazing. I love seeing all the comments. Thank you, Joan. So good to see that you're here as well. Thank you, Tootie. Appreciate that. JJ, I love it. Oh, all right. JJ, I'm going to work with you in February. Becky's here. All right, Becky, good to see you guys. Oh, wow. Now all the messages are coming in. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate you guys. Stay connected with us as well. Join us or follow us on Instagram. I don't think I've ever said that before, Kayla. She'll probably give me a pat on the back. But it really has been a pleasure as well. And let us know how you're doing. Keep in touch. Let us know about your manifestations. We love to hear of them. And we'll definitely be doing more in 2025. 2025. Wow. Let's all thrive in 2025. Kayla just put the links in there for you to check out the Mind Conditioning Mastery. Oh, she put the book of call there. Nice, Kayla. All right. So that's the book of call with you or Roddy. Roger's going to be joining us soon. Roger's been on the call. I'll officially introduce him very, very, very soon. So you'll see the links there. So you can check them out. Mentorshipwithpeggy.com, mindconditioningmastery.com, Destinies Mastermind, epitomyauthor.com. Let's go to peggymccall.com as well. Classes in Spanish. No classes in Spanish. English. But I think there's probably a way that you can get it translated with AI. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful day. See you again soon. Bye-bye for now. You're very welcome. Email to support@peggymccall.com. Thanks, guys.